Hi there, everybody. Welcome back to 3 News Now. I'm Stephanie Haney. Today is Thursday, July 1st. Yes, we have moved into another month, the 1st of July. Thanks for being here for the top stories from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. We start off with great news here in the city of Cleveland. 2 missing Cleveland teens have been found by U.S. Marshals. Along with the help of the Cleveland Division of Police, USMS found a 12-year-old girl who had been reported as an endangered runaway and had been missing for about a month. She was found in Cleveland's 2nd District on June 29th. And then on Wednesday, the U.S. Marshals and the Parma Police Department, with the help of Case Western Reserve University and Cleveland Clinic Police, found a 14-year-old girl who had been reported missing since last Saturday. She was recovered safely near East 93rd and Euclid Avenue. Very happy to have those teens back safely at home. Now, dating back to the conclusion of Operation Safety Net in October of last year, the U.S. Marshals and its law enforcement agency partners have located and recovered 35 missing or endangered children across northern Ohio. That's according to a release from those agencies. Now turning to Sheffield Lake, the Sheffield Lake Police Chief is out after a racial incident last Friday at the Sheffield Lake Police Department. Then Police Chief Anthony Campo stood at a copying and printing machine, printed out a small note, and placed it on a raincoat set aside for a black officer before that officer entered the room. The note read, "Ku Klux Klan." That's the name of the nation's most notorious white supremacy group, which I'm sure you're all aware of. Sheffield Lake Mayor Dennis Brink said he didn't even want to hear him talk about it when he talked about his conversation with Campo. He said, "You've got 10 minutes to get out of your office. You've already admitted it. I want your keys and badge. That's it. Get out." Now, Brink said he was made aware of the incident by the union representing the police and that he immediately placed the chief on administrative leave while waiting to review that video. Once he did review that video, that's when he had that conversation with Campo. He said that he asked the chief if he was psychologically okay, and the chief said, absolutely. He also said that the chief made a cone out of a newspaper and put it on himself and said, "You will have to wear this." That was not captured on camera. Now, Bring met with the officer who was targeted to apologize for the chief's actions. He said it was a very emotional situation. That officer is not speaking publicly right now, but we have been informed that officer has retained a lawyer for potential legal action. Campo was the chief for 8 years with the city, for more than 30 years total. And he told 3 News yesterday afternoon on an interview over the phone that he wasn't fired. He said that he retired. He also said he had great respect for the officer that he targeted and that he hired that person. He called the incident overblown and that it was part of off-color humor. Campo said that he didn't think that it was the officer who was targeted with the note who complained, but that someone else did. And he said people in the department were out to get him for past disciplinary actions taken against him. Now, the mayor saying something completely different. He said there are no excuses for the former chief's actions and that he had talked with people at City Hall and they will not tolerate racism. Going into the weekend, we do know that Governor Mike DeWine has now signed the state's new 2022-2023 budget bill into law. One of the big highlights of that bill is an income tax cut for all Ohioans. That's worth an estimated $1.6 billion. DeWine said in a release, the state senator and president pro tempore Jay Hottinger said at a press conference, every single Ohioan will receive a tax cut of 3% across the board. And for people who make $25,000 or less, they will have no Ohio income tax liability. He says that's 125,000 additional Ohioans who will have zero income tax burden because they raised that threshold from 22,000 to 25,000. It's definitely a start. Now, if we can just get those people earning more money, because $25,000 a year is hardly a livable wage. Other highlights from the Ohio budget: $13 million to pay for lead control and abatement throughout Ohio, not only at homes, but also lead and lead pipes. $20 million going toward expanding the Ohio START program, which is special services for families, particularly children, who have been victimized due to parent drug use. $24 million to bring Wendy's Wonderful Kids to every single county in Ohio. This helps children who have been in foster care the longest find permanent and loving homes. $20 million in a new initiative for evidence-based programs to keep kids out of foster care. And for K through 12 schools, this budget will invest over $20 billion in state funding for K through 12. The governor's office called this a record investment, a $1.7 billion increase over the prior biennium, and supporting the education of Ohio school children and providing Ohio families with more education choice options than ever before. Now, we've got the full document. If you want to peer through that yourself, that's on WKYC.com. Now, in the basketball world, there has been a lot of conversation about Kevin Love being selected to Team USA, and Jalen Rose is now sort of apologizing for saying that Kevin Love only made the Olympics because he was representing a token white player. Jalen Rose said on his podcast and TV show Jalen and Jacoby that Kevin Love was only selected to the 2020 Summer Olympics team because they didn't want to send an all-black team to Tokyo. Now, in the apology, the sort of apology, Jalen said that if he feels like Kevin Love should make the team or not, he is entitled to his opinion, but that he's apologizing to the game of basketball. He says that he is what the game made him. He's not what the fame made him, and no amount of money can change him. He says he was raised by the all-time greats, and he would never want to disappoint his mother, Jeannie Rose, or the all-time greats that raised him. So, apologizing to the game, not exactly clear in what capacity. He did make it clear. He says he feels like Kevin Love did not deserve to make the team, and that if he feels like it's something that's racially motivated, though, he should not say it. He said that what a lot of people don't realize when a former player makes a comment on something is that they can't speak to everything that they know. They can only talk about maybe 20% of what they know because he said, quote, everything ain't for everybody. Now, he did say the words, I'm sorry to Kevin Love, but again, not really sounding like an apology. He said, it's not that I believe that you deserve to make the team. He says, I'm pretty sure when you got the call, you were like, what? I'm on the team? And he says he knows how this works for a living. He looked down. He said he anticipated Kevin Love probably looked down on the phone and said, wow, they want me? They didn't look at the Cleveland Cavaliers tapes? And he mentioned Kevin Love's play against Toronto specifically. Now, Rose also acknowledged that he was aware that the U.S. has previously sent all black men's basketball teams to the Olympics. He said he knew that when he made his comments. So, apologizing technically, I guess, but not very clear there. Now, switching to the football world. There are 73 days until the season opener between the Cleveland Browns and the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City, the rematch of the game that knocked them out of the playoffs. And a lot of people are talking about Baker Mayfield and a potential long-term contract extension. Well, on ESPN's Get Up on Thursday morning, NFL insider Jeremy Fowler was talking about the possibility of making a deal sooner rather than later, and the Browns getting kind of a discount on Baker Mayfield for that. He said, don't expect that. He says he's talked to executives who think that Baker Mayfield's deal is easiest because Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen are considered more in the top 5 to 7 range of quarterbacks in the league, a little higher tier, and that Mayfield's money might be more manageable if the Browns can make a deal sooner rather than later. But he said that he believes Baker Mayfield is not going to take a discount, and the Browns are going to have to look very hard at that option. Now, that falls in line with what Baker Mayfield has been saying himself. Last month, he said he's in no hurry to sign a contract, and he's going to focus on winning games, and the rest will take care of itself. He is still under contract with the Cleveland Browns for the next 2 seasons, and from what I've seen, it seems to be working. So, looking forward to what happens over the next 2 seasons. Now, this weekend, on Sunday, it is the 4th of July, and we do have some tips for you to keep your pets safe because the 4th of July, a great holiday, not always the most comfortable for our pets. So the Cleveland Animal Protective League has these tips. They say, make sure your dog has an updated ID tag because if you are near loud noises or hearing loud noises, an animal could get spooked and run off, and that will be easier for someone to identify your pet and get it back to you if that were to happen. Now, if loud noises bother your pet, the APL says turn on soft music or air conditioning to kind of help mute that noise. And if they do bother your pet, keep the pet in an interior room with no windows. And if they want to hide, let them hide. That's a natural inclination of pets sometimes, and don't be concerned about it necessarily. Another recommendation, potentially trying an anxiety vest for your pet. Also, talk to your vet ahead of time and see if there are any supplements that might help your animal with anxiety. That's something that we are working through here at home, not related to fireworks, but working with some different medications to help manage Harry Winston's separation anxiety. So a little bit different, but along the same lines. Here's one to know for sure. Don't put sunscreen or insect repellent that's not specifically designed for pets on your pet. And don't put glow sticks on your pet. It will make them sick. It is toxic to them. Something else that's coming up soon, the Asian Lantern Festival will be back at the Cleveland Metro Parks Zoo starting July 14th, open to the public. That happens after hours at the zoo from 6:30 to 10:30 through September 5th once it kicks off. And we have some photos up on WKYC.com of the progress that the zoo is making. I was out there over the weekend, saw some of it going up. They definitely have a lot going on there at the zoo for the Asian Lantern Festival. So if you want to see a sneak peek of what's to come, you can check that out on WKYC.com. And there will still be some drive-through tickets this year, by the way. They will be available on Wednesday evenings. One more thing to let you know before we go here. We are at the end of the week, so it is time for your good news break. It's All Good News goes up every Wednesday at 1 p.m., and your good news break is officially up and ready for you. We are talking about a very accomplished group of 4 brothers that call themselves the Quad Squad. You're going to want to hear their story, where they're headed to next, and probably the best anniversary gift that anyone will ever get. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your situation is. It will be impossible to top this anniversary gift. And of course, the tip of a lifetime. You're going to want to see that as well. That's in It's All Good News. That's up on the WKYC YouTube page right now, also linked on WKYC.com. So make sure you check that out. All right, that's it for today's 3 News Now. I'll see you next up on What's New with your trending stories in Clicking in Cleveland, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for more 3 News Now.